Kanye 2024. I think Kanye's trolling. I think Kanye is basically came up with the most preposterous possible narrative, even at the risk of his own financial well-being, and he's advanced it. And I don't think that he's a white supremacist. I don't think that he's a Nazi. I think he basically tried to figure out the best possible counter narrative, the worst possible narrative, and he basically found it, right? I mean, what's the worst thing you could possibly say? And he said it. And I think it's sort of performance art, transgressive performance art. I mean, if it were me, I wouldn't do it, but I did something a little similar. I think he's saying something disgusting. I think and untrue. I think in some ways I probably said something offensive but true, that capitalism is an important sort of engine for society, and that we shouldn't fear profit, we shouldn't fear innovation. That's my general kind of thrust in life. He's saying things that are very unpopular to hear and also just palpably untrue. So I think that, but still, Kanye is I think hopefully this is just an art piece, an elaborate, insane art piece. But it'd be very hard for me to imagine a guy that rapped about the black struggle all of a sudden became a white supremacist. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't add up. Not even Kanye's that crazy. Being a little bipolar or something like that doesn't make you, a Nazi. You don't turn into a Nazi overnight. It's possible. I mean, you never know. Bobby Fischer became a Nazi over time. And he's Jewish. Or he was Jewish. So you just never know, right? But I do think, I hope that it's all just an elaborate joke. What is something you can say now that is acceptable but will be the worst thing to say in 50 years? That's an awesome question. That's like a good interview question. Probably something like computers don't have feelings. That's probably something you can say now that's acceptable but will be horrible in 50 years. Tips for young professionals. Well, my whole channel is kind of tips for young professionals. My Discord is a group of young professionals and old professionals. But a lot of advice. We were giving some high school kids some advice last night. We all try to help each other in my Discord and kind of Shkreli Cord and Shkreli community on YouTube and things like that. So what mistakes to avoid, what books to read, what stuff to learn. That's what our channel is kind of all about. And I hope you've enjoyed some of this content, and we'll be continuously doing this. We're always on YouTube, always on Instagram, always on online on different sites, and you're more than welcome to join our community. That's a positive place for learning and growing. Not just trolling. Sometimes trolling, maybe a little bit.
Hey Martin, are we allowed to hop into chat?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, actually I work in AI, and I parrot what you say about AI. AI is actually pretty dumb still. It needs a lot of kind of hand holding. And with Kanye, I mean, I think he is kind of just searching for a lot of attention, but he is definitely suffering from, mania. And with mania, it makes you pretty impulsive and, kind of seek shock value and reactions. And I think that's a little bit of it as well. So I think you're pretty spot on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. I think, again, there's no doubt that he is an attention issue, right? He likes attention a lot, and there's just no doubt about that. But ultimately I think a lot of people in Hollywood are addicted to fame. Once you get a taste of it, you certainly are never the same again. I can tell you that from my own perspective. But, not being able to sort of have somebody to talk to about how to cope with that is probably his problem. So I hope he does.
I think
redeem himself.
I think he's just surrounded by people that are using him.
Yeah, that might be true too. I mean, I think when you're a billionaire rapper, you have an entourage that is just wants to hang around you and benefit from you. And I think some of the people are helping him as employees. Some of the people are probably trying to help him as friends. He probably doesn't want to hear a lot from people who are criticizing him. And then there's people that are kind of just hanging on. So I don't assume everyone around him is using him. But I do think that, there definitely are people using him.
Yeah, that disorder is like incredibly intense though as well. So he's like trying to manage that disorder, not taking medication. The problem with that disorder is when you're having mania, you don't think you are kind of suffering from it. It's really odd. And you're incentivized to stay manic because it's an incredible high. So it's really fucked.
Yeah, I mean, I think his thoughts are pretty disordered, and I think he's got some symptoms of mania. I don't think he's the most bipolar person I've ever seen. I think he can be coherent. He can be...
No, he doesn't have psychosis. So when you lapse into the psychosis is when you get like really off, or like you go a few days without sleep. But he's definitely like cycling into hypermania and then like lapses back into kind of like coherent thought, but then goes back into like hypomania, but never like lapses into like full-blown psychosis.
I don't know how, you can't tell exactly, without sitting down and hearing his symptoms. Like, it's really hard to tell. Like, we don't know what his manic moment looks like. It's probably not what we see on Tucker Carlson, right? Like, it's, you don't, unless you spent 24 hours with Kanye, like, it's very hard to tell. I have a friend who just spent 3 or 4 days with him straight, and I don't think you see those. He's a very energetic person, which a lot of people with bipolar necessarily are energetic, but I'm not convinced he's got extreme severe bipolar disorder. So I don't know. I think he probably has bipolar disorder. He's got some symptoms of it, but I don't think he's like the worst bipolar case ever or something like that. And I think that Kanye was controversial a long time ago, right? I mean, he's a rapper, for crying out loud, right?
Which doesn't care about black people.
His
goal is...
Yeah, his job's to be controversial, right? Like, I think he's doing his job in a weird way, but I think assigning it to mental illness is probably not the case. I mean, literally, if you ever listen to Eminem, is probably the greatest rapper of all time, in my opinion. The guy's like, he's clearly not bipolar, clearly not mentally ill. Some would maybe disagree, but the guy, basically made a living, making controversial.
He wrote a song about having a rat up his ass. Like,
right. This is a guy that had extreme, sort of stuff. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being very likely, would you vote for Hillary in the next election? I would say no. But I hope that Hillary Clinton fades into obscurity where she belongs, but that's not that important.